I want you to imagine for a second that you hire a really renowned structural engineer to save your house.
Go.
Like your foundation is cracking, the roof is sagging, and this expert, who has literally written the textbooks on architectural integrity, looks you right in the eye and tells you exactly how to shore up the walls.
Right, so you trust him completely.
Exactly. You pay cop dollar, you trust the process. But what you don't know is that at night, this very same engineer is secretly, systematically taking...
Almost impossible to believe. The foundation crumbles. Consider the timeline that nobody fully examined at first. In early 2022, a counselor celebrated for his work stabilizing marriages quietly initiated legal proceedings to end his own union. This wasn't a brief partnership or a marriage of convenience. This represented over 3 decades of shared history, children, and a counseling empire they'd built side by side. On the surface, nobody outside his inner circle knew about the quiet filing. His reputation remained intact, his credentials unchallenged, his career trajectory seemingly uninterrupted. Yet 2 months before this legal filing, something significant...
His death, Doug Weiss's unexpected reunion with his ex-wife, shocks everyone.
Right, and the core contradiction here is just staggering. We are talking about a renowned architect of marital restoration.
Yes.
A licensed counselor who spent 3 decades charging vulnerable couples premium rates to save their broken marriages, while he was, quietly dismantling his own just to marry a billionaire media heiress.
It's mind-blowing when you lay it out like that.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to understand the collapse, we really need to understand the sheer scale of the facade this man built. When we look at this source, we aren't talking about a guy who just hung a shingle a few years ago, right?
No, not at all. I mean, for over 30 years, this counselor and his first wives operated as this totally unified couples in absolute crisis were, flying in from all over.
Paying huge sums of money.
Oh, substantial fees. And they were completely convinced they were learning from a man who had totally mastered the art of commitment.
So when I was looking through the timeline the source provides, there was this one specific detail that just stopped me in my tracks.
The 2017 thing.
Yes. Walk me through what he was telling his audience in 2017 compared to what he was actually doing just a few years later.
Yeah, so in 2017, this counselor authored a very specific, highly passionate essay. And in it, he explicitly warned other men against the seductive lies of finding an, quote, upgrade to their current spouse.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he wrote at length about the dangers of entitlement. He told his readers they had to actively fight those internal voices that whisper about greener pastures,
Which is pretty sound advice for a marriage counselor.
Absolutely. He was preaching fidelity, sacrifice, and the grueling hard work of genuine partnership. These weren't just passing thoughts. They were the philosophical pillars holding up his entire professional identity.
But then we hit early 2022.
Right.
And quietly, completely behind closed doors, he initiates legal proceedings to end his own marriage. The very union he used as the bedrock for his authority.
It's just wild.
And to make it even more glaring, the source notes that his 2017 essay warning against upgrades conveniently disappeared from circulation.
Just poof, gone.
Exactly. It was effectively scrubbed from his public record.
Well, and the erasure of that essay tells us everything we need to know about his mindset,
How so?
It shows a conscious awareness of his own hypocrisy. He knew the paper trail was a huge liability.
I have to admit total confusion here, honestly, because this is like a fire chief secretly pouring gasoline on his own living room floor while actively billing the neighbors for fire safety seminars.
That is a perfect analogy.
I mean, how does someone compartmentalize that level of cognitive dissonance day after day? He is sitting in a room, looking a broken couple in the eye, taking their money, telling them to fight for their marriage, knowing full well he filed for divorce that very morning.
Yeah.
How does the human brain process that without just short-circuiting?
What's fascinating here is the underlying psychology of authority. Specifically, we're looking at the halo effect combined with an echo chamber.
Okay, break that down for me.
So when someone is elevated to a guru-like status for decades, their brain starts to process reality differently.
Because no one tells them no.
Exactly. Everyone around them constantly affirms their greatness. Over time, highly charismatic figures can actually begin to fracture their identity. They separate their public persona, the brand, from their private self, the actual operator.
Wait, so they actually start to believe their own PR?
They do. They really do. They rationalize their private failings by convincing themselves that their public work is so
writes this article. Title: When the Devil Talks to Your Wife. In it, he warns husbands not to listen to what he calls the devil's voice of entitlement. Don't let it convince you that you deserve a happier woman, more adoration, more money. Y'all, read that again. He was writing the blueprint for his own future betrayal 5 years before he did it. That's what we call projection. And guess what? Go look for that article today. 404
that's
error.
heartbreaking.
Gone.
It was reportedly
Scrubbed.
this grueling,
Because leaving that
agonizing
up would have been a
day
neon
of her just
sign
attempting
pointing
to
right at his
preserve
own
their 30-year
hypocrisy.
marriage
Okay,
and the life
here's
they
where
had
it
built
gets
side by side.
And this brings us to one of the most baffling details in the entire narrative.
Okay.
Because the heiress, Joni Lamb, reportedly heard about this intense, desperate pleading from the ex-wife.
Yeah.
And instead of seeing this as a massive, glaring red flag, like, hey, the man I'm dating is casually destroying a woman who spent 3 decades building his life, she's supposedly viewed it as a positive trait.
Yeah. The source states that the ex-wife's desperation allegedly became a feature, not a flaw, to the new bride.
I can't even wrap my head around that.
Her deep emotional pain was interpreted as undeniable evidence of the counselor's high value as a partner.
Wait, so someone else's emotional devastation was essentially treated as a 5-star Yelp review for a new husband.
Essentially, yes.
Like, look how much she's crying over losing him. He must be a real catch. I mean, how does traditional relationship psychology even begin to explain that kind of reaction?
Well, it sounds completely backward until you look at it through the lens of a concept called mimetic desire.
Mimetic desire.
Yeah. The philosopher René Girard coined this. The idea is that human beings don't desire things intrinsically. We desire things because we see that other people desire them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So in highly insulated, high-stakes environments, acquiring a partner who is desperately wanted by someone else is processed as the other woman's grief isn't met with empathy because it is actively being used as validation of the prize.
It's like a bidding war.
Exactly. It completely bypasses the ethical question of how the prize was acquired, focusing only on its perceived market value.
That is incredibly dark. But surely someone in their orbit saw through this dynamic, right? A family member, a friend, anyone.
Actually, someone did see through it.
Yeah.
And they weren't just a friend. This is where the story shifts from questionable morals to documented professional warnings.
Oh, the evaluator.
Yes. Before their mid-2023 wedding, the bride actually hired a professional relationship evaluator.
Like a therapist.
A professional specifically trained in behavioral assessment. They didn't just meet the couple for dinner. They conducted individual assessments with the groom, the bride-to-be, and the ex-wife.
So they ran a full 360-degree professional diagnostic on the entire situation.
They did.
What does a behavioral evaluator actually look for in something like this?
Well, they are looking for discrepancies in narratives, microexpressions, signs of manipulation, and underlying attachment styles. They are trained to see past the charm and really evaluate the structural integrity of a person's character.
And what was the verdict?
This professional's conclusion was brutal. They designated the groom as someone wearing sheep's clothing while operating with predatory intent.
Oh.
The exact word used in the official assessment was a wolf.
A wolf.
Yeah, not a diplomatic warning, not a gentle suggestion to take things slow. A clear clinical assessment that his public image completely contradicted his actual predatory nature.
Here's where it gets really interesting. They literally had a trained professional look at the blueprints of this relationship, point directly to the foundation and say, this is entirely rotten, do not build here.
Right.
And the wedding happened anyway. Months after receiving that chilling warning, in the summer of 2023, they stood up and said, I do.
It really makes you wonder why the allure of the narrative they were creating together was stronger than a direct professional warning.
The fantasy was just too good.
Exactly. The desire for the fairy tale completely overrode the data.
It seems like once that massive machinery of wealth and media gets moving, it becomes a runaway train. Because after that 2023 wedding, this counselor's platform absolutely explodes just like he planned.
Overnight.
Suddenly, his old books have international distribution. He's making constant high-profile TV appearances. He is completely enmeshed in the financial and broadcast infrastructure of the Daystar network.
Which is exactly what he wanted.
Right. But while this empire is rising, I can't stop thinking about the gaping ethical void left in its wake.
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture, we really have to look at the systemic failure of institutional accountability here.
Right.
I mean, he is a licensed counselor operating in Colorado.
Right.
There are strict codified regulations governing that profession. You cannot just do whatever you want. These standards explicitly govern conflicts of interest, personal behavior that compromises client welfare, and they mandate transparency about your own emotional stability.
Yeah, I would assume you can't be actively blowing up your own marriage, manipulating two different families, while taking a vulnerable couple's money to fix theirs. That is a heavy, essential dilemma to wrestle with, because if you hire an engineer to fix your house and you find out he is actively destroying his own, can you ever really trust the walls he built for you?
Exactly.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep asking the hard questions, and we'll catch you next time.